All right. Hi. Good morning, everyone. I woke up late again, so I did start the live stream a little bit later than I normally do on Sundays. But thanks for everyone that's already come in today. Hopefully, we'll see some more of you later. But as always, I'd like to just come out and just be available for any questions you might have about your Olympus cameras or lenses or even Olympus Workspace. And okay, so questions already starting. Oh, can you use focus stacking on the with the 12 to 100 f4 Pro? I think you can. Honestly, I'm not sure because they're all sort of lens dependent. There is there is a link to what lenses are compatible with the focus stacking. I just didn't happen to bookmark it, but hopefully someone can chime in and say specifically if that lens is or not. But normally all of the Pro lenses are definitely compatible with the focus stacking. Oh, hi, Serge. Uh, okay, I'm just checking my audio. Everything looks good, I think. Um, did you or will you do a Pen F black and white versus Fuji? I haven't done it exactly with the Pen F, but when I took the EM10 Mark II out, I did use Pen F settings or similar there too. But yeah, I'm going to take the Pen F out and side by side with the Fujifilm. And I'm going to do, definitely the black and white. The challenge I have is though, the the monochrome profiles on the Pen F include grain. You can turn that on and off, but I'm sort of wondering if I should turn those off or leave them on. And then how much grain should I add to the Fujifilm because it has a grain option as well. So I'm going to have to give that some thought about overall, but I may have to do without grain just so people can kind of see. Um, and then I'm going to also do the color profiles number 2 and 3 versus the Fujifilm profiles. I'll probably do the ProNeg High. They have two ProNeg or their film simulations, ProNeg High and ProNeg Standard. And the ProNeg Standard, it looked like just the desaturated Provia. I couldn't visually see any difference uh, in the colors. So I'm going to do ProNeg High versus probably color profile number 2. And and then for the monochromes, I'll just do acros versus monochrome profile number 2 and 3 on the Pen F. The only differences really I think we'll see from, say, the Pen F versus doing similar settings on an EM10 is it is a different sensor, 20 megapixels. And it's not about the detail or resolving power, but it's just the fact that it's a different sensor and it's going to have different, micro lenses and RGB filters and etc. And unfortunately, on any full color camera, you cannot get a true black and white. It's all interpreted through a color array filter before it goes to the sensor. And that's why we're able to do red filter, blue filter, whatever in camera versus have to actually physically attach a filter. So the black and whites are not true black and whites in the sense. All they do is desaturate the colors, but it always depends what colors are coming through. And white balance does have an effect on black and white images to some extent. So it's a lot to think about. I try to minimize any influences that camera settings would have when I do these side-by-side comparisons. So, like I did the all default settings in one video, excuse me, and then I did custom settings in another video with different color profiles. And ultimately, I think one of the statements I made in the video was I'm starting to feel like, sometimes cameras feel all the same to me. All they did is just change the name on the top, you know, and it seems to be more true now than ever with only Sony pretty much the only chip manufacturer, sensor manufacturer. I'm sure there's others, but that's the one you hear about most, being in the Sonys obviously and Nikons, um, and all the Olympus cameras. I think they're all using Sony sensors, and then it's just a matter of the processing. But um, anyhow, yes, I'm going to do a Pen F versus Fujifilm X-T30 photo walk this week. I was just too tired yesterday to go out, and it was cold. Um, Anyway, good morning again to everyone that may have just joined in. Let's see. Uh, see if I missed any questions. Do you think a grip will be good addition to the M10 Mark II? Yes, absolutely. I wish they still made the grip that I have for mine. Hopefully you can see this. Let me get this mic out of the way. But you see this grip? This is very similar to the grip that you can buy an original from Olympus. And this was huge. And then what's better than the Olympus version though is it has a true Arca Swiss plate down here on the bottom, so you can mount this to just about every tripod, standard Arca Swiss tripod. And it comes with an L bracket, which I use for my pro work, but you really can take this off. You don't need this. It just adds weight. But you can also leave it on. It helps protect the camera when you drop it as much as I do. As much as I dropped this camera, I can't believe I haven't busted any lenses yet. But yeah, now there are some grips out there that have this type of grip on it. But it was lacking, I think, the Arca Swiss plate on the bottom. But yeah, definitely try to find one that's more shaped like this versus there's other grips that are shaped a little bit more round, which, they don't look as good aesthetically. And then also, I don't think they feel as good as this one does that's form fitted to the angle that's, whoops, it's form fitted to the angle that's on the camera. So that's an excellent grip. So just go on to Amazon and look around for a grip and try to get one that has the Arca Swiss plate built in, because you don't want to have to attach another Arca Swiss plate on a grip plate on, just too much. John Allen's asking, is the phase contrast AF detect much different? Yeah, cameras that have phase detect are definitely much better for video, and they acquire focus a little bit more quickly, but there's a penalty to that, which is almost not noticeable, right? It's not a deal breaker at all, but sometimes the accuracy of the focus is not quite as good as it is as a contrast detect system. There's no way I can measure that, but it's just what I've been reading online and other videos that I've seen about the difference between phase and contrast detect. But phase detect just uses the light a little bit differently to measure the distance, so it can very quickly get to a point and lock in, versus contrast detect is looking for contrast only. And once it gets to that point, it has to go a little bit further past the focus point to see if it gets out of focus, meaning it gets blurry, then comes back. And that's why you get hunting with contrast detect versus phase detect gets right to the point and locks in. But once it locks in, it might be a little bit off. So you may have heard about on the DSLR cameras where they've had to, you can fine tune and adjust the lenses because people complain about back focusing or front focusing, and that's because they're using phase detect systems which can be just off slightly. Fortunately, with mirrorless cameras, as far as I understand, that's not an issue at all in our systems. But phase detect's generally much faster and much smoother, and for video, it's definitely a big deal with respect to if you're vlogging or need autofocus, then phase detect is a much better way to go. Okay, good morning. Oh, good morning, everyone. I'm sorry, I'm missing all the good mornings, but I appreciate you guys coming in. Wow, we have a good group already early on. Let's see. Honestly, how does the Fuji handle? I was somewhat disappointed when I was in the shop, but with the Ollie, it was love at first touch. Yes, Rod. I can tell you my personal experience. When I bought this EM10 Mark II little over 3 years ago. It was like in August of 2016. And when I went to the shop, I didn't do any research on cameras. I was using a Nikon D750 at the time. I just wanted something small and light, right? Just the same reason everybody wants to buy Mark IV thirds. But I didn't know anything about the image quality of Micro Four Thirds cameras, but I said, it's better than the phone that I had at the time. But I wanted everything that my Nikon D750 had in a smaller camera. So that was the main thing I was looking for, was that it had all the features that my Nikon had, meaning, mode dial, front and rear dials, interchangeable lenses, etc. And, a tilt screen, right? Something that was important to me. And this had everything. And I wanted to take it when I go out hiking. But when I was there, I also looked at the Fujifilm X-T10 at the time, which was out, and the X-T1, and then various other cameras. Nikon really didn't have anything like this at all. But I went with the Fujifilm because I really liked how it felt in my hands, versus the Fujifilm just didn't feel as comfortable, or I didn't like just didn't like it for whatever reason, even though it was other than it costing almost twice as much back then as it does today. To this day, the X-T3 is virtually twice the price of this EM10. And if you see my last 3 or 4 photo walks, there's not that much difference really in the image quality for just general photography. And even in the colors, it's not a huge enough difference that a click of a button in post processing wouldn't fix that, if there is any difference. But that said, I did have to improve the Fujifilm I got. I bought this grip for it, little wooden handle grip. Let me. I hate this mirror image of myself on the screen. I can't see what I'm doing. But I bought this grip for it, this little wooden handle grip. It was like $50, but it's probably the only thing I'll ever buy for this camera. I doubt I'll buy any lenses for it ever. But this made a huge improvement in the usability, and it came with these little red buttons too to put on top. Which this button on the Fuji is very sensitive. I want to half press the focus because that's where I have my muscle memory with the Olympuses, but it's very hard for me to tell the difference between half pressed and fully pressed on that shutter. It's so light and it's small. So the red button helps to some extent to mitigate some of that softness in the button, but that's that. It's the same grip I bought for my Pen F, which I love very much. So there's that. Let's see. But yeah, Olympus was definitely my favorite back then when I didn't know anything. And that was in 2016, so I haven't been a Micro Four Thirds shooter that long. But it completely replaced my D750, which is just sitting down there collecting dust. Let's see. Greetings from Oxford, or Wantage, I'm not sure how to pronounce that. And then the Olympus EM10 grip looks and feels great. Yeah, it definitely makes a huge difference having a grip on the EM10. Hi Rob, what method you use to publish your camera photos on Instagram? Generally I have a video on that, actually, how I post images to Instagram. I showed 2 methods. One was using sort of a dongle that you can plug into your phone, that you can plug your SD card into, and you just, it's like a file directory. But the method I use the most is usually I upload all the images to my computer first, from the SD card, and then I'll straighten it or I'll crop it to a 1:1, and that's it. And then I just post it. I rarely do any post-processing with my images anymore, other than slight tilt and crop, because I'm always hand holding, right? And I don't know, it's always slightly crooked. But other than that, I don't do anything. But I post it directly to Instagram from my computer. So what I do is in my browser, I hit the F12 button to open up like a developer module and put it into a mobile mode. And then once I'm in this mobile window, Instagram has a little add button, and then I can just click the add picture, and then go to where the file is on my computer. So check my video about, just search for Instagram on my channel, and I have a video showing exactly how I do it. Let's see. The eBay link's not working. Okay, I'm sorry. uh, I'll fix that later. I mean, maybe go to one of my other videos if you really want to use one of my links, because I have the eBay link in every video, and I think it's working in the other videos. But I appreciate that. Let's see. Also, anyone looking for a Pani MFT body? Panasonic just reduced the GX85, $100, and you get 2 kit zooms. Yeah, that GX85 is a killer deal. I'm not that familiar with the camera itself, obviously, because I shoot, Olympus, but $500, man. I mean, I think. Let me go back to my. Sorry, I'm on my second cup. You like my little Star Trek mug? Anyway, I am a Trekkie, but that's only less than half the reason I named my channel robtrek. My episode 100, I talk about why I named the channel robtrek, but what was I gonna say about Panasonic? Oh, it wasn't really about Panasonic in general. It was more about back in 2012, when I actually started photography a little bit more seriously. I mean, I always had the point and shoots, and I just took pictures like anyone. But when I started looking at cameras in 2012, I was shocked at the pricing. I was just like, my God, why are cameras so freaking expensive? I was thinking $200-300 I could get a camera. So even $500, even 7 years later, I think is a lot of money when people look at it. Look at cameras. For us, we already own the cameras, and we're kind of, and a lot of us, we've been in photography much longer than I have, right? And $500 is like nothing to us, relatively speaking, in terms of camera gear for what you're getting in the GX85. But a lot of people, and I think that's part of the problem with camera sales, is the pricing is it's really high to people that have never bought a camera before, because they're not seeing what the potential is of the camera, and that's where people, the camera companies need to focus, I think, is to show people what you can do with a real camera versus, say your smartphone, and why would you want to spend an extra $500, $1,000 on a legit camera? And I try to do that on my channel to some extent. The problem with my channel is it's really focused on people that have already bought a camera, and I'm just showing you how to use it, right? And only recently I got this X-T30 just because some people are thinking about getting a Fujifilm, or some of you are Fujifilm users. And I just wanted, I had to scratch that itch and compare the two, because there's so much hype on the Fujifilm simulations. And when I look at every review online and I see the images people are producing, I'm like, those are just gorgeous, And then when I go out and shoot for myself on 3 or 4 different, I have another 2 photo walks I haven't even published yet. I probably won't at this point, but I'm like, this. I was really disappointed. I was like, I wasn't being wowed by the Fujifilm color film simulations, because I get pretty much the same thing, or the same reward, I think, with the Olympus colors as I do with the Fujifilm. Now, if I was only a Fujifilm shooter, I'd be loving that to death. And then if I went to Olympus, I'd be like, well, it's okay, right? And vice versa. If I'm an Olympus shooter, adding this Fujifilm to my system was like, it's okay. And I think you can see that in my vlogs. I'm not like jumping up and down with this camera, being really excited about it. Sorry, John's asking. Oh, hi, John. There's a lot of regulars here. I appreciate that. Have you tried the Olympus LC auto lens cap? No, I have not. It looks pretty awesome, though. I'm thinking about getting another 14-42 easy lens, because mine broke. And it's not a common problem that those lenses fail. But it's common enough that I can find online other people with that same issue. But yeah, I want to buy another one. I saw one on eBay for about 150 bucks that had the lens cap on it, that auto lens cap. So I think I might go that route. Follow up to phase detect. What is the workaround? I'm not sure what I said that would prompt that question. Uh, if you could elaborate a little bit, Kevin, what is the workaround for phase detect? Just remind me what I said that prompted that question because I can't remember. I'm sorry. Uh, Finally sold all my M43 gear in favor of my iPhone. I still have Canon full frame for those days when I want to. Yeah, yeah. I mean, sometimes, just having a legit camera doesn't matter. You can do great with a iPhone or cell phone or any camera. If you're not using the camera and the gear and the lenses, it's just you're just losing money. So you might as well sell it. I mean, you know, that's just how it is, right? I got lots of stuff I should be selling actually, like my D750, but um, yeah, and you kept your Canon. I can understand that because I'm keeping my Nikon for some reason, just in case, right? I need a full frame. It hasn't come up in 3 years, but yeah, I totally get that where you're coming from. Uh, but yeah, I'm sorry to see you go. You probably won't watch my channels much anymore because I think you've been in and out for a long time with me. Um, oh, I'm sorry. You followed up. I'll still sub to your channel. I like, but just can't justify the dual system enough to keep it. Yeah, you're right. You're right. I get that. I can't justify why I have two systems, now three with this Fuji at all, other than I have this channel. And that's not really enough because, you know, uh, okay, imagine buying something that is 5 times more expensive. That is how it, oh, yeah, I'm so sorry about that. It's tough in some places, right? Because in some countries, the income is not at the level of other countries. Uh, but then things cost a lot more on top of that, so it's like a double whammy, right? It's like you don't earn as much, relatively speaking, and then the items cost, 5 times as much. That's rough. Uh, Miguel's saying he's having trouble with his electronic lenses. Yeah, I don't like power. I assume you mean power zoom lenses. If you're talking about power zoom lenses, yeah, I'm not a big fan. If you're talking about any autofocus lens that has electrical contacts, um, then I would say I'm not really having any problem with that at all. I go out and do manual focus time to time, but generally I can't. I prefer autofocus. Okay, Kevin, a follow up to the phase contrast. So, what is the workaround? If CAF hunts, then what do I do when the subject moves, specifically a baseball player at home plate? SAF. Continuous hunts. Ah, really, if you're shooting moving objects, uh, the best thing is to use a single point or a small group of points. Like there's a 5 point cross that you can do. You have to be able to follow. So when you're in CAF, don't use tracking. Just use CAF, not the CAF plus tracking. And then track the subject yourself using those crosshairs or a single point. If you're really good, you can use a single point. And then slow the continue, and then slow the shutter rate. I think the maximum on say the EM10 in continuous low is 5 or 6 frames per second. Slow it down to about half that, to 3 or 4 frames per second. That'll give the autofocus system and the lens motors to be a little bit, give each other a little more time to work with each other, right? So the shutter slows down. That gives the lens more time to have time to focus, and that's really the only solution to shooting, moving subjects that are fast like that. hopefully that answered your question. Yeah. Good morning, Rob. From last couple of photo walks, it's amazing how much the OMT is standing up to the much costlier. Oh, thanks, Tusker. That last photo walk where I went to the fort, oh God, I almost didn't even post that vlog. That if you watch it closely, you'll see I'm still calling my XT30 new. That's actually one I didn't even want to post because I didn't like any of the pictures in that one, but I appreciate that. I have another photo walk I haven't even posted because the pictures are awful. But I might post that anyway. But that's uh, anyway. I'm sorry. There was a question there too. Oh no, you were just saying. Yeah, it does hold up pretty well though. I didn't. I would tell people for $500 get the M10 Mark II with the kit lens. Don't spend 1200 and get a Fujifilm. That would be my advice. For a first time photographer, if you're buying your first camera. So Kevin's saying hunting never stops. Yeah, I think there's some lag too from what you see in the viewfinder. I'm sorry. The other thing you need to do is for the focus hunting is change the autofocus settings in the camera to say, let me see, what's it called? Okay, so you go in the menu A, AFMF. Is it menu A? No. It's menu C, the release menu. Right there. And then you see the first two lines there? Release priority S and release priority C. Make sure those are both turned off if you're going to be doing that kind of thing. And what that does is it tells the camera not to take a picture unless it's locked in focus. That's the only other piece of advice I can give you. Slow the shutter speed down, shoot in continuous low, shoot in single point autofocus either with a single point or the crosshair, and then make sure the release priorities are both turned off. That's the only thing I can recommend, and you should get a much better keeper rate because that's how I shoot my dog when she's running around, and I get a better keeper rate. And for sports stuff, also try to focus on the person's chest when they're running. Usually I have big numbers on there to give you a lot of nice contrast. But if you focus on the person's chest, you'll still get their face and the majority of the player in focus, but you'll have a much easier time locking in on their chest than trying to lock in on their face when you're doing the sports action type thing. Okay, I got the M10 Mark II with the 14 to 42 for 300 pounds. Wow. Yeah, the M10 Mark II is still a bargain. Olympus is supposed to send me an EM10 Mark III because it's not a camera I would buy because I just have too many cameras and it doesn't add anything to my photography. But I do want to. Why am I talking about the Mark III? Anyway, the M10 Mark II right now is a much better deal than it was when I bought it, especially on the used market. How to maximize my OMD M1 Mark II with the 7 to 14 2.8 for landscape photography. Well, generally landscape photography, there's not much to it. Just use a tripod, obviously. Try to shoot at f5.6 or maybe even f8. That may be a little too high, but f5.6 to f8, and then you can use spot meter exposure for the area that you want to have the most detail and the least amount of noise, because usually landscapes have a lot of dynamic range. So you'll have very bright skies and then you have a very, very dark foreground. So you want a spot meter for the area that you want to have the most detail and the most dynamic range. And then something's got to give, either the sky or the foreground, right? You rarely can get both of them exposed properly. Hence, that's why a lot of people, they'll either use one of those graduated ND filters, those square filters that are kind of shaded at the top and gradually go clear, or they bracket shots. So for landscape, I'd recommend probably a graduated ND filter. That's the easiest way, so you got a lot less post-processing. The only downside is, if you have a landscape with trees on either side, because there's a lot of landscapes I've done where I have trees on either side of the image, like here, but then the center is all sky. And then what happens is, the graduated ND filter makes the top of the trees dark as well. So in those cases, if you don't have a clear horizon where it's all sky at the top, then bracketing shots would be better, and doing an HDR shot in camera, or bracketing and stacking those things back together using some software. Olympus Workspace doesn't do that as far as I know, but just about every other third-party software does that, even some free ones. Hopefully that helped you, Antos. Why don't you think Olympus puts GPS in all their cameras? Oh, hey, Robin. Yeah, I know. You comment on my Robin Desaru. You've been with me a long time. I know. I think it's a battery issue, honestly. That's what I hear, is that it drains the battery. So when they publish their SEPA ratings, and a camera has GPS, the total number of shots is going to be lower, so the camera is going to look like it has a weaker battery. I think it's more of a marketing thing. Even if it's like 10 or 15 shots less with GPS versus without, they want that SEPA rating number to be as high as possible, and getting rid of GPS. I mean, the argument is a lot of people don't use GPS. But then they added Wi-Fi in, which, kills your battery more than I think GPS would. And, but, people want that because it looks good on a spec sheet. I hate Wi-Fi. Oh my God. I tried to download some, I went to that hockey game the other day, and I tried to download some images from my EM1 Mark II to my phone. And I have a Galaxy S9 now, so it's a pretty modern phone. And only about half of them made it through, and then it took forever to do. So I don't know. I got to think of a different workflow if I'm going to keep doing that. Morning, Rob. What are some positive and negatives of the 3 different cameras you have? Oh, wow. That's a long story. Or that would be a really long video. I've been meaning to do a video about all the different cameras I have and why I have each one. But EM1 Mark II I have primarily to do video, which is what I'm using now, as a matter of fact, because that's really good autofocus for video in continuous situations like this. And it has an amazing battery life, which is also very important for video. I can leave this on and stream for 3 or 4 hours probably on one battery, because the camera doesn't have to do a lot of work, right? It just sits there. But I have gotten 3 hours of life out of that battery versus, the EM10 Mark II or any of the Olympus cameras. I might get an hour and a half, but I'll start sweating, like at about an hour and a half if that battery's going to go much longer than that. But yeah, I bought this mainly because I wanted something smaller and lighter, and I've told that story many times why I got this. But I fell in love with Micro Four Thirds, and a month later I bought the Pen F just for vanity. I just thought it was a beautiful camera, and it was a birthday gift to myself. So I bought this really as a gift to myself because I wanted a really nice looking camera. Because this is very utilitarian, right? And this, to me, if you love this kind of look, then... and then I have my Pen PL8, which honestly, I bought this by accident on eBay. I put in a low bid, and then I forgot about it. And then like a week later, I get an email, I need to pay for it. And I'm like, pay for what? And then I found out I won the auction. But this has turned into my favorite vlogging camera, actually, because it has the mic jack on it. and then the flip down screen, etc. So that's why I have this. And then the TG5, I have the TG5, right? Because I just wanted something I could put in my pocket and carry with me everywhere. And this thing is tough and durable. And I've taken, and when it's pouring rain, and then for some reason, if I want to go out shooting, this is the camera I would take. And, you know, that kind of sums it up. The XT30, I just had to scratch that itch, you know, about Fujifilm simulations. And I tried not to spend a lot of money. I really didn't want to buy, you know, $1,200 camera. But I kind of justified it with, you know, I'm going to do comparisons between our Olympus cameras and Fuji. And if I don't get Fuji's latest camera, then, you know, how legitimate are my comparisons going to be? So I had to kind of upgrade mainly for that. Otherwise, I would have just got an XT1. But then it wouldn't have as much value in terms of doing comparisons, right? So hopefully that answers your question. That D750 I bought years and years ago, you know, that's a whole nother story. The positive and negatives. Well, positive of the EM1 Mark II is the battery life and the autofocus system and the stabilization. The EM10 Mark II, the biggest positive is really that the tilt screen is best for photography. I think most photographers prefer this versus articulating. Positive of the Pen PL8 is it has a mic jack adapter that you can buy separately. And the TG5 just being portable and tough and waterproof, that's the main advantage of that. And the Pen F is, the biggest advantage to the Pen F is if you're a JPEG shooter, it has very, very unique customizable functions. And really, there's no negatives to any of these cameras that are different than any Micro Four Thirds system, right? You know, low light performance, depth of field, you know, the common things you hear about if those things matter to you. There's really no other negatives to these systems. Let's see, where are we? I'm sure they are good for us. Moving objects, single point AF, 9 point at small aperture. Yes, John, that's correct. 9 point's a little bit too big for me, but I'm thinking in terms of like birds in flight photos. Because a lot of times the birds are flying between trees and things, and it'll lock focus on a tree before it locks focus on a bird. Because a lot of times the birds don't have any contrast in them, but the trees do, right? So for birds in flight, I would use a single point and practice a lot at being able to follow those things with your eye. Okay, Marco's saying, looking at Olympus Workspace, all corrections and adjustments are done to the total file. Do you know any development done by Olympus to enable also regional edits or area? No. I don't. They don't have any brushes or anything in them to modify only certain areas of the image. So yeah, unfortunately, that's not a feature it has. I mean, Olympus Workspace is really just a PC version of what's in our cameras, with a few more things added. So it's not a very powerful photo editor. So I don't use a lot of the editing features in it. I can do everything in camera generally that I can do in Workspace. I'm still waiting for the original BLS 50 battery, who's supposed to be genuine on eBay. Oh, okay, Serge. Yeah, let me know how that goes. It can take, I don't know where it's coming from, but it, you know, I ordered something from China once that came from China, and it took about 3 weeks for me to get it. Hi, Rob from DGUK here in Portugal. At the moment, I'm looking to upgrade either EM1 Mark II or Fuji X-T2, which you think is best, or the EM5 Mark III with, I have all the other lenses. I have EM3 as well. If you're already in the Micro Four Thirds system, I would go EM5 Mark III. I mean, you got a pretty big spread there in terms of cost. No, I'm sorry, no, you don't. All those three cameras cost about the same. Maybe the Fuji X-T2 is the cheapest. I would stick with the Micro Four Thirds because you already have the lenses and everything. And if you shoot with larger, heavier lenses all the time, like you have a lot of pro lenses, I would get the M1 Mark II because of the grip. And the battery life is amazing. That's the main advantages of the M1 Mark II, but the downside is it's bulkier and heavier than an EM5 Mark III. And an XT2, you're going to miss the image stabilization if you're anything like me. My God, when I didn't have image stabilization in that X100F, the lens didn't have it, the body didn't have it. Oh, that was bad. That was a bad experience for me. Have you ever tried the Sigma 56? If so, how does it compare? I have not tried the 56 1.4. Yeah, I don't know. It's just not a focal length I need because I have the 75 1.8, which is even longer, but between 45 and 75, I had the 45 and the 75. I just don't need a 56. But yeah, sorry, I don't have any experience with that lens. I've had great luck using my vintage OM lenses with f1.8, focus peaking aperture. My first OME camera was the M10 Mark II. Oh, thanks, Robin. Yeah, it's a great camera. And yeah, time to time I'll take out my OM lenses. I have them around here somewhere. Oh, it's actually on my OM film camera. I was out shooting with this about a week ago. But sometimes I'll take this lens off my film camera and put it on my Pen F. Let's see. Rob, thanks for teaching me so much. Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for coming in to my live stream, Tommy. Oh, the G9 for $997. That's amazing. That's amazing. My thoughts on the G9 really is the G9 is really what Panasonic is just catching up to what Olympus did with the M1 Mark II, because it came out about a year later, and it does pretty much everything the M1 Mark II does, plus a little more on the video side, right? Because it's a Panasonic, but I really love the top plate LCD on that. I don't know why, because you can look at the back of any camera and all your settings are here. But I just love that LCD plate on the top, and it has a great grip. And who loves that camera is James Popsis, right? He bought that camera and he never looked back. And now he's sponsored by Panasonic all the time. He does a really good job on his channel in terms of vlogging and videos. He's really entertaining. I watch his channel time to time. Not every video, because his channel I look at it as more as entertainment. For entertainment value, at least for me, because hasn't really showed me anything too new. But I think for a lot of photographers, beginning photographers, his channel offers a lot of value and it's entertaining. Okay. Speaking of which, when I went to go buy this XT30, talking about the G9 at B&H, I bought this XT30. It was $100 off, and then the kit lens was $400 on top of that. If you buy it as a combo. But while I was there was a lady there, and this. Oh, thank you, Chris. Thanks so much. When I was there, I had a chance to buy a Sony A7R3, okay, with the 24-70 lens that comes with it, and a little, polyurethane pouch or something, and a grip. Not the grip, I'm sorry, no grip. But that camera with the 24-70, oh my God, for the same price I paid for this XT30 with the kit lens. And you might be thinking, right? I know a lot of people will be like, are you nuts? If you can get a Sony A7R3 with a 24-70 for the same price I paid for this XT30 in lens, what's wrong with me, right? And let me tell you, when I held that A7R3 in my hands, I was like, I am not going back to full frame because it just felt so big and bulky in my hand. I mean, with that big big 24 to 70 lens on. It just felt huge in my hands, and I said, I will never take this camera out. That would be $1,200 down the drain for me. Because my D750 has very similar, if not identical, image quality to that A7R3. I'm sorry, it was an A7 III, not the R3, excuse me. The A7 III with the 24 to 70, so the 24 megapixel sensor. Anyway, so while I was there, and the other thing the other insight I got is the person who bought it, they only had it for 30 days. And they were trying, they didn't want it anymore. So they're trying to sell it back to the camera store. And the reason being, they said, it was too much of a hassle to take this camera around with me everywhere. I'd rather just take a picture with my iPhone. And that's why she was returning it. She just said it didn't fit her lifestyle. So that's, and I could have bought that, and I just couldn't do it. Okay, so hi Mike. Currently using an EM10 Mark I with a Lumix 12 to 60. Also have the Ollie 25, the P14. Oh, okay, yeah, I love that little Pancake 14 and the Ollie 45. What should I upgrade first, the body or lens to a 1242, or go to the XT30? It depends why you want to upgrade, and what is the EM10 Mark II not doing for you, or I'm sorry, EM10 Mark I not doing for you that these other cameras might. That's really the question you have to ask. You have to ask me if before I can really answer, because the XT30, the EM10 Mark II, or Mark III, there really aren't any significant advantages with these newer cameras over even a Mark I EM10 in terms of photographic image quality. You might get slightly better noise performance. You might get slightly more resolving power or detail because it might have a 20 megapixel sensor instead of the 16. I think that's in the EM10 Mark I. But not enough to spend $500, $1,000 to upgrade from what you already have. So if you're looking for better image quality, I wouldn't recommend buying any camera. Just stick with the EM10 Mark I. If you're looking for a particular feature, then I can make a little better recommendation about which camera to get. There's a lot of reasons I wouldn't recommend the XT30 that and a lot of reasons I would, right? But I don't really want to form those opinions yet until I've had it in my hands a little longer. But for now, if you're talking strictly about image quality and photography, I would get a 12 to 40 lens, but you have the 12 to 60 already from Lumix, so I don't see even a reason to get a 12 to 40 unless you really need an f2.8. It sounds like you're already pretty well set up. I would probably go longer, a 40 to 150 kit lens, or I would get the 35 to 100 from Panasonic is really good. That's sort of a focal length that you don't really have covered there. So I think you need a longer lens. I would skip the 12 to 40 because you already have a 12 to 60 and get a longer lens. Maybe the 75 to 300. So that's my advice, Mike. It's just get a 75 to 300 or 40 to 150 kit lens, not the expensive Pro version, unless you need it, for some specific reason. And you'll know why you need it. Oh, thank you so much, Chris, again, for that. I appreciate that. Because, I know you got those. It says here you got 4 free $1.99 credits. And you can give those to anybody, right? But you gave them to me, and I really appreciate that a lot. The 75 to 300 recondition for 360. Yeah, oh my God. Get the 75 to 300. It's awesome. I took it out the other day to a hockey game. It was actually too long because turns out I could stand right up next to the glass. I could have used the 40 to 150, but it's a great lens. Rob, without stirring too much, what is your take on the latest video from Tony dying in 8 months? I watched it kind of while I was eating. I I didn't watch it with a very critical eye, you know, because the only thing. Well, let me get into the meat of the issue. I'm not worried about Olympus shutting down. Nothing I've seen to this at this point, because I did watch very closely one by the what's his name, Ken Wheeler, where he said he read through every page of the corporate report, and he sort of highlighted the things that uh, he thought, you know, why he thought that there's some legitimacy to the rumor. I can't remember if he thought it was closing. I don't think he gave an actual opinion. He just kind of legitimized the rumor and then tried to discount someone's rebuttal about how Olympus uses the imaging division to support their medical division, because the focus is clearly on medical. And the line item that he showed that I think he got wrong is, he said line item number one was Olympus is going to focus on their medical division. And then sentence two was the imaging and research division are critical components for Olympus. And the imaging division is the camera department. It's not just the medical, but he tried to, I think, interpret it as the medical division is the imaging division within the medical division. But no, I think the way the wording is, the way it's worded, to me it looks like the imaging division is the camera division, not part of the medical division, right? So there was nothing in what he did in his video that I felt was, supported the fact that they might be going, shutting their business down in 8 months. As for Tony and Chelsea, they fall back on their Tony at least falls back on his personal experience working in corporations and what he knows, from that being in the corporate world, as was I many years ago, about how corporations work. Like, they never announce they're going to shut down. They just stop making cameras. And he gave very good examples. Samsung, right? They started and then just stopped. They never said they were going to stop, but they did. Pentax worries me a little because I haven't really seen much from them in terms of their DSLRs. I think they own Ricoh or vice versa, but but Olympus doesn't worry me at all because they're still coming out with cameras. uh, and if Olympus shuts down, meaning instead of selling, if they sell it, that's one thing. If they shut down, that's another. If they shut down the camera division, it's okay. I'll just buy something else. I mean, the cameras I have now will last me another 3-4 years, no problem, and then I can buy something else in 3 or 4 years. But I don't really worry about it. But the only thing that, I don't want to say that. Okay, sorry. Uh, but yeah, Chelsea was very cute in that video. Okay, so and I watched a lot of their videos when I was starting out back in 2012. I learned a lot. I've had to unlearn a few things, but I've learned a lot from their channel. Just checking out your Instagram page. Nice shots and lots of them. Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, my Instagram normally, yeah, I just take pictures and post them on Instagram. I don't post them all, obviously, but thanks. I learned a lot from your videos. I'm building up my photography equipment kit for professional work. And do you think it's worth to invest in the FL700 or Godak's Nissan equipment? Uh, I'm not familiar with the Olympus flashes, so I can't say that it's not worth investing in that. I can tell you that the Godox system is very good. Um, and it's because you can buy one trigger and it works with all their flashes, all their modern flashes that they have on the market, unlike the young Nuos where you have to kind of be careful which triggers and flashes you buy. They may not work together. So I like the Godox systems, and a friend of mine, he bought a lot of the Godox equipment from Adorama. I think they use the Flashpoint as their brand, and he loves them. So I would start with. It depends what kind of work you're doing. I would start with like an 8200 or an 8400 with a regular any of the triggers. Uh, just one light, or get two 8200s. Uh, that would be fine. Or just buy some manual flash. Well, flash photography is a big topic. It's hard for me to tell you where to go professionally. I'm not sure what you're going to be taking pictures of. If you're doing portraits, one or two lights is good. I would just get two speed lights. Two powerful speed lights, full size ones, not like the TT350 that I recommend to beginners. If you're thinking about pro work, you need more powerful light. And I would, if you have the budget, I would get the 8200 with an X1T trigger to start, or get two of the lower end. I think there are six. I forget what they're called, T3 650s or something. The Godox has. Those are two very good flashes. The full power flashes, meaning they use 4 batteries, right? Because there's the TT350 uses 2 batteries. The most of the more powerful flashes use 4 batteries or lithium ion batteries. Those are the flashes you want to get if you're thinking about doing pro work, and you want to stay under $300. If you want to go over 300, 8200, 8400. EM10 is much less expensive and gives you more control over regular settings, including film sims. Mark III is more for auto mode and creative filter folks. Yeah, the M10 Mark II definitely has more granularity in the menu. You can control more settings in different modes, but it's just as creative as the M10 Mark III, so I don't think you're giving anything up by going with the M10 Mark II in terms of creative art filters and things like that. The M10 Mark III is really for and it's Olympus's goal was to make the camera easier to use by introducing a more graphical menu up front where all the features are, but they sacrificed some of the granularity in the settings. So that's why I need to get an EM10 Mark III in my hand so I can talk about it a little more competently what those issues are. The only one that stands out to me, and that was a deal breaker for me on that camera, is it didn't have the My Sets in it. That was the one deal breaker for me. Originally, it didn't even have RC control for flashes, but they added that back in through firmware. And I hope they add more things back in from firmware that used to be on the EM10 Mark II. For the sake of people that want to advance their photography and have that granularity in the menu. Wouldn't it be better for Olympus to squash the rumors, especially with Christmas, and get some balance from... I do have emails to a couple of people just recently that started at Olympus, and I got invited to go to their headquarters in Pennsylvania. But this is my corporate experience, okay, from back in early 1990s. And it hasn't changed because some of my family still work in big corporate America. Is the only people that know what's going to happen is the board of directors. Everybody from there down, they get their pink slips and it's a complete surprise to them. Because up until they get their pink slip, everything is hunky-dory, things are going full steam ahead. Then the very next day, there's a pink slip. It's like, sorry, we're closing. That's how corporate America works. And they live by the quarter. At least here in the United States, corporations live by the quarter. And if you don't meet your numbers, they will fire you like that. Or they will shut down an entire division like that, with no notice. So even if I ask anybody at Olympus what's going on, they're going to tell me the truth as they see it. No, there's no problem, right? We're doing fine. We got all these things in development. This is going on. This is going on. It doesn't matter. Trust me. I don't care how much development and how many cameras they have planned to come out. Whatever's on their timeline. If the board of directors decides to shut something down, it's gone like that. So I just would not believe anything I hear from Olympus unless I was on the board of directors myself. Is all I can tell you. Now, the corporate culture in Japan may be different than here in the United States, where they're playing the long game, right? And these little dips and valleys in camera sales may not be. They may not look at that as a problem right now because they have a long-term solution and they're going to bear it out. But I don't know enough about corporate culture in Japan to say anything to that effect. But at least here in the U.S., my God, they will fire you on day one of the second quarter after the first quarter results. Day one of quarter two, you get a pink slip, and then they'll rehire you the next quarter because you're a good employee and they need you back. But then if the numbers don't meet, they will fire you again. So yeah, it's crazy. So yeah, just I can like I said, even if I contact Olympus, it wouldn't matter. Um, it seems like all the digital flashes are a lot more expensive than the film flashes, which is okay. Yeah, I would. The only cautionary tale I get about using film era flashes is the voltage on the pins are different. They can short out your camera. It's never happened to me because when I started out back in 2012, I was using film era flashes that came free with cameras or I bought for like $10, and they've always worked fine. But I don't use them anymore just because I don't want to take that chance. So you do have to get the digital flashes unless you know for a fact that the voltage on the pins are not excessive for digital cameras. But that's the only caution I would give you. I use my film era flashes with an optical trigger only or a radio trigger off camera. For that, they're great. If you get radio triggers for your third-party flashes, you can buy some very good vintage, and I'll only buy a brand name Nikon or Canon, right? Vintage flashes, very powerful flashes with like a $20 radio trigger, and use them that way off camera. Then they're fantastic. That'll save you a lot of money. If you want to get a 5 or 6 light setup, you can probably buy about 5 or 6 vintage flashes for less than $200 and a radio trigger, and you got a professional setup there, no problem. Okay, David's asking, you may have answered this, but should I consider upgrading to the M10 III to the M5 III? I'm also consider trading in my 14 to 42s and forward to get the 14 to 150 kit. Okay, so I would say you should always consider upgrading if there's a need, right? If you're thinking about doing video, definitely upgrade to the M5 Mark III. It has superior autofocus, continuous autofocus. If you do a lot of sports action type photography, definitely upgrade from the M10 Mark III. But if you're not doing sports action, if you're not doing video, the M10 Mark III is fine. For general photography, like you see on my photo walks, there's no need to upgrade. As far as your lenses go, the only reason you would get the 14 to 150 is because it's weather sealed. And if you get the M5 Mark III, get it together with the 14 to 150 as a kit, because it's a lot cheaper that way. And then sell off all your other stuff if you want. But that's probably what I would recommend. Otherwise, there's no reason to get a 14 to 150 lens if you already have those two other kit lenses, because I don't think it offers better image quality than what you're getting. It may be worse in some cases than those two separate lenses. I missed the actual question, but flashes, I have a couple of young Nuo speed lights and a remote trigger. They work well, and I think if it was under 200 for the whole set, yeah. Like I said, I only brought up the young Nuos because there are some differences in the flashes and the triggers. So you have to make sure you match the correct trigger with the correct flash. Whereas Godox, all of their modern flashes work with all of their modern triggers. And I don't know if Yongnuo has changed in the last year to where everything they sell now goes with everything else they sell in terms of triggers and flashes. Everything's compatible, but I know 2, 3, 4 years ago, that was not the case. Because I've got some Yongnuo triggers. They do not work with a brand new Yongnuo flash that I got, uh, unfortunately. So you just have to be careful in that respect. But that's all. That's all. But if you get the right triggers and right flashes, the Yongnuos seem to be fine. I've never had a problem with mine. Uh, I sold one that I had because I didn't need it. But um, anyhow, oh hi Thomas, welcome. uh, yeah, yeah. Everyone's the rumors always just linger on, right? Micro Four Thirds is dead. Uh, like I said, if Micro Four Third dies, everything else is not far behind. Trust me on that one. Um, have I tested the M5? No, I'm getting my M5 Mark III next week. I think Thursday or Friday. Let me look at my calendar. Thursday, yay! Thursday, I'm getting my EM5 Mark III. I'm supposed to. So Thursday, I'm going to get the camera, and then fortunately, it's very similar to the M1 Mark II, so there's not going to be any learning curve really. And I'll probably go out and vlog with it that day if the weather's nice, and start showing you some images and give you my initial thoughts. I mean, Peter and Robin and various other channels, but Peter and Robin I would trust the most right now. I feel like I'm missing somebody though. In terms of their first impressions and reviews of the M5 Mark III, because they've had it hands on for a while. I know they had it for a little while, then they had to send it back, but then I think they got it back as a loaner. So they've had the camera in their hands a long time, and they're very experienced Olympus users. But yeah, you know me, I'm going to share my thoughts on it, right? Because we all have a very different perspective. And like I said, mine has always been very different from them in most cases. I mean, there's a baseline of where we're very much in common, but then there's things that, yeah, I'm very different. Uh, do you have any experience using the 15? No, I do not. The only experience I had is I went to go buy that lens, uh, and when I put it on my Pen F, it focused very slowly in video. So I didn't buy it because I wanted a 15 millimeter for vlogging. So I ended up getting the 17 instead. I'm sorry, I ended up getting this 12 millimeter instead of that 15. Because at the time, this was on sale, and the 15 millimeters uh, was like $500, and this was $600. So I just went with this because this focused just fine on my Pen F, and it was a little bit wider. So the 15 millimeter Panasonic, though, that's still a lens that I want. Man, if I can get that thing for around $200 or $300, it would be in my bag right now because uh, the images that I've seen from it are amazing. And I'm buying it mainly because I think that's the one that has the Leica logo on it, right? I just want a Leica lens, just at least one, right? Because there's a lot of Leica branded lenses in the Panasonic lineup. And by all accounts, everyone says they're wonderful. And when I see the pixel peeping videos, when they're comparing them, I'm like, man, yeah, it's a little bit better, isn't it? A little more contrasty. Like David Thorpe did an excellent review on the 15 millimeter Panasonic, and he talked about how contrasty and punchy it was. So of all the lenses from Panasonic, that's the one I want the most. I just haven't bought it because I don't need it. I got so many lenses. It's very hard to justify. $200 though, I would definitely get one. Uh, the Godox is cool with compatibility. Probably what I'm doing the next time I buy lights. Yeah, I mean, a friend of mine, he switched over to Godox system completely. He was using something else before, but he really liked everything the Godox offered at the price point. And he got like $200 or $300 off the whole system. He bought like two 8600s, I think, and an 8400, and yeah, he got a lot of stuff, and he saved a lot of money, and he loves it. A cheat sheet for the EM5. I haven't seen that video. I do remember he did a cheat sheet, I think, for the EM5 Mark II or one of the Olympus cameras years ago, which was very, very popular. And if I recall, most of the settings are very similar to what I do already. So if you've never, I think those are great. Like Peter did one, and Robin now has one, a cheat sheet. Both of them did really touch on all the things that you need to set in your camera that will help you take better pictures. There's one or two settings here and there that I do differently, just because of the way I shoot. But I think as a absolute beginner or somebody that's never really organized their thoughts on how they want to set up the camera, you should check out definitely Peter's video. I haven't seen Robin's yet, but I'm sure it's excellent, because based on his prior history of doing excellent cheat sheets on his vlog. South Carolina, so we're on the same time zone, thank God. Jimmy Chang at Red 35. Okay, yeah. Jimmy Chang's the other channel. I keep forgetting. He does a great job too. He's very different style, right? He's more hip. I hate to use that word hipster, but he's definitely more hip, and I think would probably attract a little younger crowd than I do. But he has a tremendous portfolio and experience using Olympus, and anything he says, I think you should feel pretty comfortable that he says what he means. I don't know how he's being honest, I guess, about what he says. I mean, there's always that sort of fog of, we're getting sent these cameras for free or as a loaner, and it somehow biases our reviews. And I can see that, right? Like, if Olympus starts sending me cameras before they're released or something like that, in the back of my mind or in my subconscious, I'm going to feel like, man, I can't really say anything bad about this camera because they sent this to me in good faith, and I'm going to return the favor by giving it a bad review, So there's always going to be sort of, I think, there's going to be that conflict subconsciously, not consciously. Consciously, I'm going to be like, yeah, I'm going to give the most honest review I can. But I don't know how the psyche works, in those situations, right? But the reason I think Peter and Robin and Jimmy Chang, even though they got pre-releases, even though they're ambassadors, I think they're all ambassadors or visionaries. They've been using Olympus a long time, and they use it in their professional work. So I would have no trouble trusting what they say about their cameras, even if it's a little biased, if that's possible. I wouldn't think anything they say that they'd ever be dishonest. What advantages do you think you'll get from the EM5 Mark III over the M1 Mark II? Mainly size and weight. That's the only advantage the M5 Mark III has. It also has technically 120p and 1080 video, so there's some video advantages there, features. But that's the only advantage, I think, is the size and weight. It's just smaller and lighter, so it's going to be like carrying my little EM10 Mark II out, but having an EM1 Mark II's features, right? So I'm really looking forward to that. Just being able to take one camera out and vlog and take pictures at the same time. Man, you should see, I guess you guys can imagine the rigs I have to carry sometimes to vlog and do these photo walks. You have to carry 2 tripods, 2 cameras, maybe a third camera. Then you got the wireless microphone going on. Sometimes you have an additional, my VP10 that I carry. And then you have to sync all these things together. It's a frickin' nightmare. But if I had one camera with a mic jack, oh my God, that took great video and great pictures at the same time, Uh, that's going to be the biggest advantage. The closest thing that Olympus has right now to the M5 Mark III is actually this Pen PL8. This does really good video and it takes great pictures. It's small and lightweight, has a mic jack. So I'm really buying the M5 Mark III for me is just upgrading this Pen PL8. I'm not upgrading from an EM10 Mark II or any other camera. I'm upgrading from a Pen PL8 because this has been my primary vlogging camera that also takes great pictures. So a lot of my vlogs you'll see I actually use this camera for the picture taking and the vlogging because it's a terrific camera, but it has a couple limitations in vlogging. It only goes to ISO 3200 in video, and I really need it to go to 6400 because I do a lot of night photography and I vlog at night. Gordon Lang and B&H Photo have hands-on reviews with the Mark III. Yes. Okay. Are they starting to come? Are these new videos from Gordon Lang? Because I saw the one he did when on a pre-release camera. A pre-release Mark III, but I haven't seen anything recently. Oh, thank you, Richard. I try to help. You know, like I said, that's the most frustrating thing, and I think for me as an relatively experienced Olympus photographer now, is I didn't have anywhere to go to learn how to use the camera other than the experience I had with the D750. But once I dug into all the menus, I was like, oh my God, this camera does so many things that my D750 doesn't do. And then I really got into it. I'm really one of those gimmick guys, right? I love all the gimmicks on these cameras. You know, the more gimmicks they put in, the better. Let me try and get through a few questions because I wanted to make some other comments. I have the OM1 back in the day, and I'm thinking about getting OMD EM10 Mark II. Yeah, if you don't have a digital camera now, the EM10 Mark II is an excellent camera. I mean, I would only say get the EM10 Mark II if you don't have a digital camera now. If you have a digital camera now, let me know what it is, and then I can kind of give you my opinion that way. But yeah, if you just love Olympus, just get it. You know, it's relatively not expensive. I mean, it's still $500 here in the US, but you know. Do I have any experience with the 60 f2.8 macro? No, I do not. I'm sorry. All I can tell you about when you buy macro lenses, buy the 60, don't get the 30. Because with the 30 millimeter, you know, you have to get about this close to your subject to get that 1-to-1 macro. You know, with the 60 millimeter, you got a little more working distance. But even with the 60 millimeter macro, it's not as, I don't know, I'm not really big on macro photography. I just need to get, I like to do I think it's more accurate to say I like to do close-up photography. Macro photography is when you get those, like, you can see the little hairs and tentacles on a spider, right? That to me is macro. I prefer close-up photography, so I just use extension tubes. The Panasonic 15, no, it was not slow for focusing on still. Single point autofocus. I don't know about continuous autofocus because I didn't test for that, but I imagine it's fine in continuous autofocus as well. But for photography, the Panasonic 15 millimeter was fine. It was just slow in video. It might be fine now on the new EM1 Mark II or EM5 Mark III with the new firmware, but I don't know. I struggle with the 12 to 40 at night for portraits and moving subjects. Any solution? If you're talking about like street photography, you just have to shoot in higher ISOs. That's the only solution. There's not much room there. You know, with respect to that. If you're talking about portrait work, you need to get a flash. Basically, you know, if it's a situation where you can use a flash, you have to use a flash. Because every camera is going to struggle in low light, whether it's micro four thirds or full frame. it's going to struggle. So you have to use flash. That there isn't much difference between MFT and APS-C. Even Fuji, as its exposure at the same ISO, is darker. Yeah, I was, Jan, I was struggling a little bit with the posting the side-by-sides because the exposures looked exactly the same, but I kept bumping. This is the only problem with the M10 Mark II is this exposure comp dial is a little bit too easy to turn. I think you can move it to somewhere else where it's only the button only, but that's a pain to use that way. But then it's a pain when I keep bumping it. But I will say this, that the Fujifilm X-T30 does not have as bad a problem with exposure as I did with the X100F. The X100F was clearly 2/3 to a full stop darker than every image that I was doing with my Olympus. And that's okay if I didn't have them side by side, right? But that's why I do them side by side, right? So you know what the differences are. The X-T30 doesn't have that big a problem. Maybe a third of a stop darker at most. On most exposures, it was pretty much equal with the Olympus in overall brightness. Okay, you're welcome, Tony. Gosh, I already forgot what question I answered for you, but you're welcome. I've been using Olympus gear for a long time, since the OM10 and the OM2. Wow, yeah. I have an OM2 still. Gordon Ling has been using Olympus for a very long time also. Keep up. Oh, thanks. That's good to know. I didn't know he's been a long time Olympus user. I watch his channel time to time. And I think he gives a ton of information that's very useful, but it's very finite in terms of the situations he goes, he doesn't exactly hit on the things that I want to know about or see, because he hits on all of the technical aspects, and then his really long videos, his podcasts or whatever, really do go into a lot more detail. But I'm not connecting somehow with him as well as I do some other channels. Not to say that he doesn't do an excellent job. He really does. It just doesn't connect with me as well in terms of what I'm looking for when I'm looking at camera reviews. But that's good to know that he was an Olympus shooter for a long time. Let's see. Okay, yeah. So yeah, it was a pre-release camera. I'm gonna get mine next week. Thursday. I'm so excited. On a limited budget, EM10 or G85. I think if you do, you can't go wrong either way, honestly. Between the EM10 Mark III and the G85, I think, I don't know the G85 that well. The EM10 Mark II, okay. The only deciding factor there between those two cameras is size, right? If you like a little bigger camera with a grip, get the Panasonic. And I think it has marginally better video capabilities. Not enough that I would call it a deal breaker either way. But the G85 definitely has a little bigger grip and is easier to handle. But if you're only going to buy one camera and one lens, I think the M10 Mark III makes more sense because it's smaller and lighter, and you'll probably take it with you more often. And get the compact easy zoom lens with it if you get that. I mean, either lens is fine, but to make it even more compact, if you're going to go that direction. Otherwise, you might as well just get the G85. The factory refurbished EM10 Mark II definitely is worth buying. I mean, I wouldn't pay more than $300 for a factory refurb EM10 Mark II. But I've seen them, yeah, for like $400 with the kit lens. That's a good deal. That's a good deal. If it's your first camera ever, if you already have a camera, it depends what you have now before I would say, yeah, go out and spend $300 or $400. But yeah, there's nothing wrong with refurbs. I've bought refurbished lenses from the Olympus website, and they were like brand new. I've bought maybe 3 or 4 things from Olympus refurb site. And I think Robert's Camera or Use Photo Pro has a refurb section as well. Um, no problems there. Oh yeah, the EM1 and EM5, yeah, they're fine for photography. There's no reason to upgrade from those cameras if all you do is photography. They're excellent. Ah, really? TG6 does. Okay, so the TG5 does good macro? No, yes, it's very good. TG6, they added focus stacking in camera. Oh, interesting. I thought my camera did focus stacking. Let me see. Where is that bloody thing? Go to scene. I rarely do macro work, but menu. Oh, yeah, I don't see focus stacking in here. It's just focus bracketing. Interesting. Yeah, if you do a lot of focus, I think you can just do focus stacking on your computer, but if you want it in camera, get the TG6. But it's pretty amazing. Let me put a memory card in here. You will not believe how good this focusing is on this little TG5, and the TG6 would be the same. Um, and I'm going to say this again about the TG5 and the EM5 Mark III. Oh, crap. I don't have my glasses on, so I can't see the... But look at this. I got my hand right up against the lens. But it focuses right on there. Just like that. I mean, it focuses like, I mean, like that close, right? And I didn't even zoom in. That was at the widest angle. Let me see how far I can get. Oh well. Anyway, I won't waste your time with that, but it gets really close, man. It's amazing. And the detail is great. Let's see. But yeah, the macro on that TG5 is awesome. Good to hear someone else still using the originals. Yeah, that's true. I mean, if I looked at those original ones for a long time, just to buy, just for fun, just to be nostalgic. But God, I just have too much stuff. Yeah, Tony, I'm with you on that. The Panasonic bodies, they're very utilitarian to me, right? I just could not, I couldn't buy one of them. And it's purely cosmetic. I don't think there's anything wrong with the cameras. Just cosmetically, they don't appeal to me. And I feel like a camera, should inspire you to go out. My God. Like this Pen F, man. Oh my God, with this wooden handle on it now and the little red button with the bling, I'm like so happy. I got to take this out against the Fuji. Now the Fuji has this handle on it now too, with the little red button. It just makes, now this camera is like a little more interesting to me. Like I want to go out and shoot it. When I first got it, I wasn't particularly excited to go out and shoot this, other than for the film simulations. But now when I put it in my hands, and this lens is so freaking heavy, but with this little bitty grip on it, now I feel like I can handle it a little. Holy crap, I almost dropped that in my coffee. Anyway, did I order the black? I got the black one. Yeah, I don't know if the silver paint is if it's silver paint or if it's silver plastic. Either way, it's gonna wear. not like black. But yeah, this is the one thing. I did watch the Gordon Lang video on the M5 Mark III because it is about a month old now. Give me 1 second. I wanted to comment on one thing there. And I said this in my last live stream, so if you've seen this already, I'm sorry, but this TG5 is all plastic. And I've dropped this thing so many times, and not like just on the floor, but I mean, I've dropped this thing across the street. It went flying like this, you know, and sideways and every other way on concrete. And there's barely a scratch on this thing. If the EM5 Mark III is built anywhere like this in terms of the plastic they use, I'm not worried at all about the durability of that camera. Because all of the tough cameras, all of the TG cameras, every camera from Nikon, Panasonic, they're all plastic. The TG tough cameras, they're tough cameras. And I think, and as people say, you know, they make bulletproof vests out of plastic, right? So nothing wrong with plastic in my opinion. But so I ordered the black one because I wanted to be a little more discreet in my, when I go out street photography. I really want to get into street photography, like doing portraits of people and stuff. I wouldn't put this lens on it, obviously. I wouldn't put a silver lens. I'd put my 17. But I got the black one. And black is growing on me in terms of camera colors in general. That's why I got the Fujifilm in black. I just prefer black. You know, when I first got into Olympus, I really wanted silver. I thought silver was the best looking thing ever. And that's why I got the Pen F in silver, because I just love the look of this. But yeah, I don't know. I'll let you know. You know, if I ever see a silver camera again, I guess time will tell, right? I don't know if the silver is going to scratch or not. The plastic silver that's on this, that's metal. The battery door, yeah, I mean the battery door is plastic silver and it scratches. So I can't imagine the M5 being much different if it has silver paint, but I don't know. Time will tell. So yeah, the Pen F, I use it mostly for just photo walks, and when I'm feeling creative and want to do some fun things. You know, when I first got it, I didn't care about this dial at all. So one of my first videos that I ever made with this camera, I was like begging Olympus to let us reprogram this because this was pretty much useless to me. Because I was coming off a Nikon system. But now that I've learned, you know, the ins and outs of this camera, I really love the this creative dial and all the different things I can do with it. I love this little jog dial. I mean, Olympus really put a lot of thought into this camera, I think, for photographers. But it just came out, and there were people like me that didn't appreciate it at all. They just liked the look of it. But that wasn't enough to make this camera sell, you know. But now I really love this. I love this dedicated exposure comp dial now. I was not a big fan of that at first, but yeah. So I use it mainly for my personal stuff and when I'm feeling creative and like to experiment. Panasonic colors are muddy compared to Olympus. Maybe. Like I said, I just don't have a Panasonic camera to say. Yeah, the angular look. Yeah, I love the Olympus cameras. They're just beautiful cameras to me. The M1 Mark II is actually, I think, the least attractive camera that they make. I'm not a fan of its looks. It's more utilitarian than any of their other cameras to my eye. But the benefits of that camera outweigh definitely the cosmetics. I bought it mainly because of the video and the huge battery in it. Like right now, I don't even know how long have I been jibber jabbering here. From when did I start? 10 hour and a half? Okay, hold on a second. I still got 2 bars on my battery here. Oh, my green screen is. I still got 2 bars or 55 minutes. I can go like at least another hour on this camera with video. and that's really why I bought it. I'm not familiar with too many good vintage. I think the Helios 442 is supposed to be really, it's very popular. There's a channel called Matthew Stern or Mattias Stern. Not Mattias Burling, the street photographer guy who had all those cameras, but Mattias Stern, I think is his name. He does a lot of vintage glass videos, so check that out. That would be a better source than me for vintage lenses. I know the Pen F, Chris. The Pen F definitely is definitely begs to be taken out all the time. I have an XP 130. Oh yeah, I have an XP also. Wait, I just put it away. What the heck did I do with it? I just put it away. I had my XP camera out here. Just so people know what we're talking about. Oh, that reminds me. I need to give some stuff away, actually. Let me ask you guys, does anybody want this? Where did I put it? I got this. Did I mirror the image correctly? I got this OMD hat. I wore it. I got this at the photo event I went to. I wore it out of the place for about 10 minutes. That's it. But if anybody wants this, let me know. It's too small for my head. It's a little bit, I got it extended all the way out, but I got a big head. So it's a little bit small on me. But I just wore it for about 10 minutes until I decided it was too small and I'm going to give it away. I got that, and I got, if anybody cares about this stuff, I don't know. And then they gave me some microfiber stuff, and they gave me these little tags that say Olympus on it. And, ooh. Because I asked the guy, let me take a couple of these. I want to give them away to my viewers. So let me sort. I should have sorted this before I started. I keep forgetting about these things. All right. Well, I'm glad I looked for that Fujifilm camera, because now it reminded me to give you guys these things. But I got these tags, right? I don't know if you guys travel a lot, but I guess I hate traveling, so I have no use for these. And I've got 2 microfiber cloths, so I'll give one away to each. And I got these 100-year pins. Olympus celebrating 100 years. I got 2 of these, so I'll give 2 of these away. So what I'll do is I'll scroll back through the. So anybody wants these, just chime in. All right, let me do it this way. First person that emails me, okay, that wants these things, I will give them away as a set. So I'm going to give away a pin with a microfiber cloth and one of these tags. And I only have one hat. I should have took another hat. But I'll put all these together and put them in the mail for you if you want. Okay, so email me, Rob, and I'll just type it in here. So just email me your address, where you want me to send it. It needs to be in the United States, though. I don't know how to send international. I think it's a little expensive. But yeah, I'm really cheap that way. It's going to cost me like $6 to send this stuff out. But Just whoever emails me there, whoever emails me first, I'll do it in that order. I guess two different people. The other package is going to be, so whoever emails me first will get the hat. Whoever emails me second will get the pin, will get the hat. I'm sorry. Let me be very specific. They'll get the hat, the pin, the microfiber, and a little tag. And then whoever emails me second will get the microfiber, Olympus, this pin, and a blue. And let me know if you want blue or white. It comes in a blue and it comes in a white. And that's all I got. All right. Okay, Tony, I'll fess up. I got the Pen F bases on its looks. Oh, yeah. Hi, the great Vanzini. Gosh, I need to scroll up a little bit. Oh, no, we already talked about the Fuji. And then the Panasonic 20. Man, I want that Panasonic 20 millimeter so bad. Just like I want the 15 millimeter. Panasonic has some great lenses. They're for Panasonics. But it's good to know that with the new firmware update, man, if I can put that 20 millimeter if I can put that 15 millimeter f1.7 on my EM5 Mark III and get decent video autofocus, I will buy that lens probably. It's a little pricey, but I'll probably buy it. But thanks for letting me know. That's awesome. The 20 f1.7 with the new firmware update is really good. That's good to know because I heard it was a problem before. And yeah, I bought the Pen F purely on its looks. It was a pure vanity purchase because I knew nothing about Micro Four Thirds. Other than I had the EM10 for about 30 days before buying the Pen F. And I said, oh, the image qualities are great. You know, let me get the Pen F because now I got a good looking camera too. The 45 f1.2, it's only worth it if you do pro work or paid work. The question is the 45 f1.2 worth that price? I think in of itself it's worth that price. Yeah, it's weather sealed, it's tack sharp, wide open. You know, it's an excellent lens for the money. Is it worth it to spend that kind of money? Only you can really answer that. If you're getting paid work, I think it's worth it. But I wouldn't buy it just because it's better than the 45 f1.8. Like, I don't do any portrait work professionally. You know, in the few that I've done, I just used my 45 1.8. It was good enough. So, short answer is no, it's not really worth it if you're not getting paid to use it. Super Takamars, yeah, the M42s are amazing. Yeah, I hear lots of good things, man, about the Pentaxes, the Pentax vintage lenses. I really want to get into that. I just got so much gear. I don't want to buy more stuff. The Panasonic 20 millimeter. I think for photography, any Olympus camera will work fine. It's just only in video that is the problem. But if you have an EM5 Mark III or an EM1 Mark II, I think with the new firmwares, it was kind of implied that now it's an amazing lens on that. And I've noticed that all the lenses I have work so much better now since the firmware update. It's like having all new lenses on these cameras, or having a new camera, I should say. EM5 Mark 1, EM1 Mark 1 with the latest. Okay, thanks, Tony, for clarifying that. Okay, good. I'm planning on buying EM5 Mark III. The EM5 Mark III does not. Oh God, I'm having a brain fart. Personally, okay, if you buy the EM5 Mark III, what external mic would I recommend? I'm using now the Harmonic. I like this one a lot. It's charging. This is the Sarmonic, I think they call it a Blink 500. This is the microphone side of it with the lavalier. I bought this with, and it came with the microphone, the lavalier mic. And if you watch my last 3 vlogs, I'm using this particular mic, so you can get an idea of the sound quality. And I don't think I did any post-processing on the sound quality. This is excellent, and it's cheaper. For 180 bucks, you get this with the lav mic included. I think with the Rode, you only get the 2 receiver transmitter. And then the other thing is, you don't have to use the lav mic with this. You can use it just like the Rode mic without a lav mic because it has its own mic built in. But the other main advantage of this is you can buy another transmitter, so you can have 2 people wearing lav mics going into one camera. That's something you cannot do with the Rode mic. So I would recommend this Harmonic Blink, I think it's called a Blink 500. This is the Blink 500C. I just got this. This is amazing. It's very small and compact. I think for 250 bucks you get 2 transmitters and 1 receiver. So if you're doing interview type things, both of you can be wearing a microphone. But I bought the single transmitter kit because I don't really do interviews. I have a dual mic system that I have already. But for single mic, this was $179 including the lav mic. So this is the best deal. I would get this over the Rode mic, and I did because I had the choice, right? This or Rode mic, and I went with this. And I don't have any regrets. Do you mainly rely on Olympus Workspace? Oh, okay. So question is, do I rely on Olympus Workspace? And you've been looking for the video on batch files. That's because I haven't made it yet. What I'm going to do is I'm going to build up my batch files on my website. So if you go to my website, you'll see a new link to a page that has my batch file presets that I'm working on. And they're all free. You can just download them. Once I kind of develop a few more and get them on my website, then I will make the video demonstrating, how to use the batch files, and by downloading mine and inserting them in and etc. I mean, it's a whole process. But look for that probably within the week, though. I'm very close to getting ready to do a Olympus batch file workspace video, including the batch file presets. I don't know why they call them batch files. They should have just called them presets. But anyway, so yeah. And I do mainly rely on Olympus Workspace for, I'd say, 99% of the photography that I do. But that is with the caveat, I'm already pretty happy with the image I got in camera. I'm just at a point now. I'm not, like I said, I'm not saying I take good pictures, but when I do take a picture, it's exactly what I wanted, And when I go into post-processing, all I really have to do is just maybe tilt it a little bit because the horizon's crooked, or crop it slightly because, there's a tree branch or something hanging in the frame, and that's it. So that's why I use Olympus Workspace. Now there are times when I do have to go over to Lightroom, and I would say 100% of the time for my professional work I have to use Lightroom because I do a lot of image layering and stacking, right? That's something Olympus Workspace cannot do, and I have to do that in my pro work. But for everything else, yeah, Workspace is all I use. Let's see. I'm going out today with the M10 Mark II with a tiny Lumix 12-32. The AF only is fine. Anyone use this little pen? Yeah. I I really like the 12 to 32 from Panasonic. Uh, because that extra 2 millimeters is a big deal. Uh, Not only for landscape, but because I vlog, that extra 2 millimeters is a big deal, and I love the pancake size. The Olympus 14 to 42 is just a little bit tight. It's not tight if you don't need image stabilization. Then it's wide enough. But when you add image stabilization with the digital image stabilization together, the 14 millimeter gets very tight. I mean, it's like uh, you're just framing your talking head. And I tried, I used to use the wide angle adapter on it, but it's just a little bit bulky. I mean, it's not bad if that's all you got, but since I have a choice, I'd rather go wider, so I bought the 12 millimeter f2 for my vlogging. Do you have any impression about the rumors on Olympus shutting down? Yeah, we talked about that earlier. But long story short, I'm not worried about it. Nobody knows, only the corporate directors know if Olympus is shutting down or not. I mean, it's suggested I call Olympus, the contacts that I have there, and everyone from not the board of directors, but everybody just below the board of directors, they don't know until it actually happens. Like, they might tell me today everything's great, we have all these things lined up, and then tomorrow they get a pink slip. So unless you're on the board of directors, nobody knows what they're planning. Uh, but yeah, I'm not worried about it. Nothing in the corporate report uh, concerned me that they're going to close down in 8 months because all the losses that they have, they were planned. They were planning those losses, and they're shrinking. So I was very positive on the corporate report, and other than that, nobody knows unless you're on the board itself. I'm a very good compositionalist. Thank you. I will share my secret to composition. um, is I watch my corners, and I think I say it out loud in a lot of my vlogs. If you look at any images, just scroll through Instagram and look at the images that appeal to you. Say, wow, that's a nice picture, right? But then look at the corners. There's usually a leading line from, like, I can't, coming out from the corners. I can't do it on this somewhere. I always try to line up the corners. And then once I have one or two corners, I try to get two corners in. Uh, then once I have a corner lined up, like let's say it's a sidewalk, right? I want the corner of the sidewalk to come out of the corner of the frame leading into the subject. And the subject, I like to have it, 1/3, right? Somewhere in the rule of thirds, if not front and center. And then the other key is I always look for triangles. Anywhere there's triangles in an image, where you can make things kind of, add some geometry to the image. That's the other thing I do in my composition. It's very simple compositionally is what I do, but there are people that are masters at composition that will give you much better advice than I can. But that's what I do. Very simple, right? I watch my corners. I make sure the subject is front, center, or in rule of thirds, and then the last thing is I look for triangles and geometry to try to include that in the image. Thanks, Rob. First time any YouTuber has actually responded to a question of mine. Love my Olympus, had EM5 Mark II and had to sell. Now EM10 Mark III. Oh, it's 16 by 20, yeah. I mean, you can print large. I usually print 4 by 6, right? My little, if you guys like printing, let me tell you this, if you do black and white prints, this paper's really good. This is the Canon matte photo paper. Man, I thought it wouldn't be. What's the big deal, right? If you're going to print on matte paper, just use regular copy paper, right? But this, no, it's different. If you buy actual, because I got this for like $5, I said, all right, let me see what the big deal is. Because, when I print on regular copy paper, it comes out like crap. And I'm like, I ain't spending, $10 or $12 to find out it's still crap. But I bought this for like $5. I got some deal on Amazon somewhere. It's amazing. It's amazing how good your black and white prints look on matte photo paper. So anyway, what did you print your 16 by 20 on? Was it like, did you have it done at a photo lab or did you do it yourself? Probably at a lab, right? That's a pretty big print, unless you have a big printer, which is unusual. Oh yeah, Tony, I think they're talking about just the camera division closing, not Olympus itself. uh, Yeah, Olympus Workspace, I have the luxury of having a killer computer. It's a 6-core Pentium with 32 gig SSD. It was the bomb last year when I bought it, or earlier this year when I bought it. Uh, so I'm not having issues with Workspace, but when I used it on my old Sony, oh my God, yeah, I was crying. Really? You like the Panasonics for monochrome? That's interesting. Because I thought the monochromes out of the Olympuses are amazing, especially because like oh, I can't say I don't know anything about Panasonic, but I really love the black and whites I get in camera out of the Olympuses because I can control highlight shadows, midtones in some cases. The Pen F, you can also do uh, add grain and things. Man, this that Pen F is an awesome, awesome camera for black and whites. Yeah, I would imagine the Gray Vanzini's kind of chiming in on this matte paper. If you can recommend a good matte paper, I'd be willing to try it. But I can tell you, this is pretty cheap paper from Canon. But this was awesome. This is Canon matte paper, matte photo paper, MP 101. But I'm comparing this to photocopy paper, okay? Not other matte papers, okay? So you have to take that into consideration. My first impression of this paper is comparing it to like just regular photo paper that you put in your copier. Uh, but I was really happy with this. Which program is easy to use? I use Picasa for JPEG. No, I would not recommend Workspace for raw processing at all. Um, well, let me rephrase that. The question is Olympus Workspace good for raw for a beginner? It's very good raw converter if you want to get the Olympus look. Like if you want to use the stay within the Olympus sort of what you can already do in camera. It's very good for helping you learn how to use your camera better. But for actual image raw processing, like you want to pull up the shadows, you want to crush the highlights or bring back information from the highlights, uh, it's 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 terrible at that. Maybe I don't know how to use it, but when I compare it to when I'm using Lightroom, my Lightroom images are far superior at recovering shadows and highlights. Lightroom is far superior to Workspace. Also, working with noise and working with uh, the sharpness controls and clarity, everything is really superior in Lightroom. And if you're on a budget, I hear good things about. I guess the free software is Raw Therapy. I've heard good things about it. I've only used it once or twice years ago, and it was fine. But Raw Therapy is free. You can try that. If you want to pay a little bit, um, A lot of people like Luminar. I've used it. I have it. I don't recommend it for more experienced photographers that have to manage their photos. But it's very good at individual pictures, and I think that's a great way to start with raw photography. And it's like $60. But I would say the best software, in my opinion, is the Adobe uh, Photoshop Express. What's it called? I can never remember the freaking name of that software. It's the one that you can buy like at Best Buy or off the shelf. It's like $69 or $79. That is the very best, I think, for beginners because it has a very good raw processing engine, just like the original, the heavy duty Photoshop, and it also has a very good photo management system built in. I think it's called Photoshop Express. Somebody remind me on that. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank. But yeah, I would say Photoshop Express. Um, Photoshop Elements. Thank you, Chuck. God, why is that so hard? Because I don't use it anymore since getting the CC version or whatever. But Photoshop Elements, I've seen it as low as $50, but just plan on spending about $70 or $80 for that. But that is money well spent, in my opinion, over anything else I've seen, mainly for the photo management or data asset management part of it. But then also the raw processing and all of the things you can do in Photoshop Elements is great. Now, if anybody else has recommendations, just go ahead and leave them in the comments because I'm not familiar with anything else, to be honest. I went from Photoshop Elements to Photoshop CC, and I've tried other things on the side. The only thing on the side, yeah, I've tried other things on the side, but I wasn't impressed enough to recommend them or to buy them or use them, with the exception of Capture One. Capture One software is excellent, but it's pricey, right? It's either subscription or pay one time for like $300 or whatever. Capture One is an excellent software, but it's on the pricier end, right? But it's a pro thing. But I think starting out, Elements is good enough. Yeah, Darktable I've never tried, but Raw Therapy I've heard good things. Yeah, thank you, Lars. Yeah, he's backing up the Capture One. A friend of mine, he switched from Adobe to Capture One because he felt it was superior to Adobe. So if you want to spend some money, you can pay monthly, $10 or $15, or you can pay one time, $200 or $300. I don't know what the pricing is now. But check out, let me see, if you're interested in Capture One, there's Walter Rowe. I just typed it in there. Check out his channel on YouTube. He does Capture One tutorials, and he's also a Capture One affiliate. So if you're thinking about if you want to buy that software, use one of his links there, and he'll get a few dollars for it. DxO Photolab. I heard DxO has the best noise processing. So if you shoot in low light all the time, I hear that's the best. But I don't know. I've never used it. No, you don't need a high spec laptop. It's actually it's fairly snappy. I mean, it's not as good as Photoshop, the real one, because the real Photoshop uses the GPU. It uses two processors in your computer versus just only the CPU. So it's a little bit slow, but I would say it's far superior to Workspace. No question. You'll be fine on any Intel Core i5. Any modern laptop that's come out in the last 3 or 4 years will run it just fine. Okay, Brent. Yeah, let me know how it goes. Just comment on any of my videos and I'll see it. And let me know how it went. It doesn't have to be any video specific, just any video. Mm. Okay. You're welcome, Tusker. Um, I got to tell you one other funny thing, and then maybe I should wrap it up because it's been a couple hours. Yeah, I think. Wow, still a lot of people live here though. Is everybody still really here? I'm showing like 76 people, which is amazing to me. Um, Now, what was I going to talk about? I was going to talk about one more thing. Oh, man. I'm not that old, right? I'm 53, right? But it's like it's old and it's my mind is going. I can't remember more than 30 seconds ago. um, oh, yeah, it was a funny thing. Oh my God. I if you watched my video on the alteration shop where I did a small photo job taking picture of this business that's closing down, and I showed my mom the pictures that I took, with all my art filters and processing that I did. It was minimal. I just applied an art filter and tweaked here and there. And she looked at them, right? Because I got a lot of compliments on those pictures. She looked at them and says, "Oh my God, these are not clear at all. You can't see anything. What's going on? Are there any pictures of this? What?" I was like, "Oh my God." So some people, they just like, just pictures. They don't like anything that's creative or artsy fartsy at all, like my mom. She just looked at them and she's like, "These are awful." Man, that just crushed me. I was like, "Oh my God, I thought these were awesome pictures." And she looked at them and she's like, "These are awful. You can't see anything." I'm like, "Well, it's supposed to be kind of dark on the edges." Or, "Yeah, I meant to shoot that in black and white." She's like, "How come there's no color?" I was like, "No, this is supposed to be a black and white picture." Oh my God. It was heartbreaking, man. She hated my pictures. She never really looked at them. She I do the Christmas pictures and things at home, and we have our Christmas dinner, and those are just your normal portrait flash shots, right? But when I tried to do anything creative, black and white or an art filter, man, she hated them. I'm a whippersnapper. That's funny. Time for F1. What is that? Is that the F1 racing? Ron, is are you going to go watch a racing thing? Okay. Oh, sorry, Richard. There's a question here. Would you still recommend the Olympus 75 to 300? If you don't have the 40 to 150 kit lens, then yeah, the 75 300 is fine for the money. For 400 bucks, yeah, it's a great zoom lens. Um, Wait till I'm start pushing 70. If I'm so lucky, Ken, if I make it to 70, God willing. Let's see. Yeah, moms don't understand art. I know. She didn't get it. That was yeah. So I don't show anybody outside of my YouTube channel anymore. My pictures on my Instagram. Yeah, Robin, I know, right? I mean, all that matters is that you like them, that you like the pictures you're taking. Like I said, I never thought my pictures are very good, but I like them. And that's why I don't have to really process too much in Workspace or Photoshop. They come out exactly what I wanted. I'm always trying to improve that, though. I shot the moon as soon as I got my 10-2. I was happy with the results and showed my wife, and she's like, "Oh, okay, let's Like, what's so special? I know, right? It's just the moon. Oh my God. I know. People that aren't into photography, they don't get it at all. Oh, which lens for astro? Uh, Forget about the 15. Get the 12. You want to be wide if you're going to do astrophotography. And there's two reasons for that. Obviously, the one being wider, you're going to capture more of the sky, right? But also, when you go wider, you can use longer exposures before you start to get little egg shape type in your stars, right? Because you want the stars to be round. And the narrower you get, the shorter your exposure has to be, you know? So you want to get as wide a lens as you can. So I bought this, God, I need to get out with this. I haven't done it yet. I bought an 8mm fisheye, mainly for my pro real estate work, but I want to do astrophotography with this because this is an f1.8. So go wide as you can when you get a lens. Even, I mean, going from 12mm to 8mm, that's almost like a full stop of light extra that you can expose for because you're wider. So just think about that. And then you have to get into focus stacking. If you're going to do more than 20, 30 seconds, you have to start doing stacking in astro, but go as wide and as fast as you can. 12mm f2 or 8mm f1.8 fisheye. It's a little pricey. I think Laowa has a $500 lens or a $300 lens that's like an f2.8 at 7.5 millimeters. But that's you may want to consider that. Just go as wide and as fast as you can. It doesn't have to be like this $1,000 pro lens that I got. It can be one of the generics that are f2.8, but don't go slower than f2.8. You need at least f2.8, and you need to be as wide as possible. I'm lucky my wife is also into photography and I've been shooting longer, so I still yeah. Oh my God. 12 to 42.8, not bad. I mean that if that's the only lens you have right now, that's a good lens to start practicing with. But yeah, micro four thirds, you need to be as fast and as wide as possible so you can have as long an exposure as possible, or you need to start stacking. If you're going to do photo stacking, I think there's a software called Star Tracks or something where you can stack images. Then the 12 to 40 Pro is fine. It's tack sharp and it's fast and wide. My photo art software is Smart Photo Editor by great for quick edits and control. Okay, thanks. Thanks for chiming in. I'm not familiar with that one either. Smart Photo. I use Photoscape once or twice. No, a few times. Photoscape, uh, which is like for Windows. I don't know if Mac has it, but it's the free version is plenty for me, and it was kind of fun to play with. Lao is 500 for 7.5 f2. Yeah, honestly though, I think that Laowa would be an excellent astrophotography lens. Man, it's 7.5 millimeter f2. You can probably do a 30-second exposure and still get tack sharp stars for astrophotography. So you can go ISO like 1600 at f2 at 7.5 for 30 seconds on a sky that doesn't have a lot of light pollution. Light pollution is the other big problem. Uh, Light pollution. Man, if you can find a dark, go to search for dark sky map on Google or whatever, and go there, and it'll tell you the areas that have the lowest amount of light pollution that might be near you. The closest one to me is about 2.5 hours away, and it's not even that great. The Shenandoah Mountains. The best place is about a 6 or 8 hour drive where it's supposed to be pitch black. I'm going to make that trip one day. It's up in Pennsylvania. I'm going to make that trip one day and do some astrophotography at that park that they have listed there. But okay, well, gosh, there's still a lot of people here. I really need to get going though. Does anyone else have any other questions? Otherwise, I'm going to head out. There's only about 3.5 hours of light left, and I wanted to get some things done today. I rarely shoot with my 25 millimeter Bryce. Uh, I use it for video a lot, but I rarely shoot with it photographically. It's just not a focal length I'm comfortable with. I like to go wider, like 12 millimeter, 17 millimeter, or I like to go a lot tighter, like 45 or 75. But 25 just has never been my forte. Not that there's anything wrong with it. Maybe I should just go out and shoot with the 25 one day. I just always found it a little tight because I like architectural photography where I can get the whole building in. But 25 I think would make more sense if I did more portraits and things in street photography where I wanted to get a little closer. But yeah, I don't actually shoot much with it. And I have 325s for God knows why. Live time good for, no, it's not. Live bulb is good for astro, but not live time. Live time, uh, live time is good if you want to do some light painting with astro, right? So I'll have to do a video on that because you can get a little creative. You have to do it in 2 steps though. But live time is not good because it only does, uh, you can do, I think, a 15 to 30 second exposure in live time and then do light painting on top of that to get the foreground in. But I think live bulb is a better is a better is a better choice because live bulb actually leaves the exposure leaves the sensor on so it gathers more light. So live time is a better live bulb is a better method than live composite or live time. Wait a minute. Live time, no, that is the bulb, right? Live time is excellent. I'm sorry. My God, I got it mixed up. Live time is excellent. Live composite is not, but live time is very good. Yes, use live time. Live composite can work if you're going to do light painting on top of astro, which is something I'll need to cover in another video, but live time is excellent for astrophotography. I used that actually when I did a few. Yeah, dark skies in the UK, man. Yeah, it's like any city, right? I rarely use the in-camera compensation professionally because the only time I really have used this lens is professionally. I do all of the compensation in Lightroom because in camera the in camera fisheye compensation is a JPEG image and I can't use it for my pro work. So I do use it to kind of compose the shot. I programmed one of the function buttons to uh, give me a preview of what the image would look like after it's been compensated for. So I use it in that sense, but I don't actually use the image that it would take. I take the image and I use the raw image for my pro work. I don't use the in-camera compensate. If I needed 8 millimeter fisheye with yeah, it's not a lens I use much. I should take it out more for general photography, but I've only used it for my pro work. And in my pro work, I don't need the compensation in camera other than to help me with the composition of the room or whatever I'm taking a picture of. I've never had a heating issue with any of my cameras, ever. Uh, and I'm sure by now I've been in every condition that you can put these cameras through, and it's never happened to me. I mean, I didn't specifically try to make the camera overheat ever. Like I know some YouTubers go out and they try to make a camera overheat. I haven't seen anyone overheat an Olympus camera ever, and it's never happened to me. have been out most of the day shooting with the EM5 III. Wow, you got your EM5 III already? Wow, thanks for the feedback. I can't wait till Thursday. I don't know why you got yours already. I thought the actual release date was on the 21st. Yeah, you're asking about a 12 millimeter or 15 millimeter. I thought someone else asked the exact same question, or are you asking me a second time? But yeah, long story short, 12 millimeter f2 or wider. Go as wide as you can. The Laowa 7.5 millimeter f2, I think, is probably a better choice than even 12 millimeter because you can shoot longer exposures with wide angle lenses, and you capture more of the field of view of the sky. So go wider. Forget about zooms. Yeah, thanks, Ken. Yeah, I haven't used my lifetime live bulb in a while, so I got confused. Uh, Lifetime is, yes, definitely, you just push the shutter button, and then when you want to end it, you push the shutter button again. I think live bulb, you push the shutter button, but you have to hold it, then let go. But yeah, lifetime is the way to go for astrophotography. Oh, hi, Mary. Yeah, I do have a video on lifetime and live bulb, so just search my channel. Uh, oh, you're in Denmark. Yeah, I know the plastic. Like I said, my TG5 is all plastic, and this thing is tough as nails, man. If the M5 Mark III is all plastic like that, I'm fine with it. I know it doesn't feel the same as like an all metal camera like this Fuji or my Pen F. You know, God, this Pen F all metal. When you pick this up, man, this feels substantial, right? So it has sort of that feel of quality to it, but uh, it reminds me of the movie Jurassic Park. When Jeff Goldberg was like talking to one of the kids. The kid was playing with something, and he's like, "Is that heavy?" And the kid goes, "Yeah." Then put it down. It's probably expensive. Anyway, an asteroid. I haven't heard about an asteroid coming to hit the Earth. Just thought you have ever thought about a collaboration video with Peter or Robin or any of the other Olympus experts would be cool. It crosses my mind time to time, you know, about doing a collab video. I mean, we're so far apart, not that that matters. Like, I did a collab with Noe. His YouTube channel is like Noe Rain Photographer. Uh, and that was a lot of fun. I don't know. They haven't approached me, but I guess I can take the first step and approach them. I'd have to give some thought about what we could collaborate on, though, right? Because with Noe, it was very easy. He was a very cyberpunk type photography, shooting at night in the rain and getting all these beautiful colors. It's something that I've never done. And he was not really into macro photography or taking pictures of flowers, right? So it was easy for us to say, let's try each other's style of photography and see how we do, right? And I thought that it was a lot of fun personally for me. I don't know how much value it added to the viewers for you guys, but it was a lot of fun for me and him to do. And that's the challenge I have with collaborating with any other YouTubers is how can we do something that's not just fun for us but is good for the viewers, right? How would it benefit you guys? And that's the challenge I have. So even if I approached another YouTuber, it'd be like, oh, what do you want to do? I don't know. What do you want to? You know what I mean? It's uh, like I could never do what uh, Red 35 does. He does a lot of portraits and weddings. I think that's the impression I get from his channel. I'm not a portrait wedding guy. And then uh, Peter and I are a little closer with respect to the kind of images, but his landscapes are. I mean, his images are epic compared to mine, right? So I don't know of anything I could challenge him with that he couldn't do a better job than I do, right? Same thing with Robin. I don't know any photography or collab that I could do with them where they wouldn't just blow me out of the water. So it would help me greatly, but I don't know if it would help you guys at all. Okay, bye, Tony. Thanks. Okay, I think I'll call it here. I don't see any new questions, but which wide angle zoom? I think we're following up on the astrophotography question. I mean, a 7 to 14 millimeter, uh, either the Olympus version at a 2.8 or the Panasonic version. They have an f4, which is a little cheaper. Uh, f4 is a little slow, but the it's just so expensive, right? Isn't that like a $1,200 lens, the 7 to 14 f2.8 from Olympus? I mean, if you're hardcore into astrophotography, that would probably be the lens you get. But I would say the 8 millimeter, if you want to get a zoom lens, then the 7 to 14 from Olympus f2.8 is probably your best bet. I got my M5 Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate the feedback. Yeah, the plastic. I don't know why everybody's dumping on that. Gordon Lang gave the M5 Mark III a hard time with the plastic, right? But like I said, my TG5 is all plastic, and I love that thing. It's rock solid. I can't believe Sweden and other places are getting your cameras sooner. That's amazing. But okay, I'm gonna go. So again, I appreciate everyone coming in and joining. Thanks again to Chris for dropping a few dollars my way, and I'll try and do another live stream. I was trying to do them 2-3 times a week, but I keep missing things. But I'll try and do one every Sunday about this time, at the very least. And then in addition to that, I'll try and do some other ones. Typically on Thursdays, really good because people are used to watching live streams on Thursday. It seems like so. We'll see you guys later. Okay, take care.